Okay, so this is going to be the first part of a series on LPL POV VODs, and this first session I'm going to be going over Rook1e's Yasuo. There's going to be a lot in here that not only covers Yasuo play, but just mid play in general, and it's a pretty good game to do it on because I'm pretty sure the lanes end up being 1-1-2 standard. So it is more applicable to some of the solo queue players out there. It's actually a lot more applicable than if they were to lane swap because of the way he plays it, and you'll see in his movements and the way him and his team play their lanes out and the early to mid game, what's correct and isn't correct. And moving on. So here it loads in at a little late, but it's okay. He starts his E. He's in a Yasuo versus TF counter matchup, so he has a lot of pressure here, especially considering his bot lane and jungler snuffed out where Echo, the enemy jungler, was starting out. So he has an advantage in that sense, and he pushes this out completely because this early on TF can't really do much when it comes to prepping his minions. Like you see, Pawn does a pretty good job of it, but even like to the best of his ability, he still misses out on 2 or so CS there. And you'll see when Rook1e DIs, always pay attention to where he's putting his mouse and how close he is to these minions, because the way Yasuo's dash works, if he is this close to the minion, the dash will go further in general. So let's say his dash range is like this roughly. If he tries to dash to, that's actually incredibly rough. But you get the point. So if he tries to dash to a minion that's close to him, he ends up coming farther out on the end side, which means that he's closer to pawn, and now it's just a DI here, and he can attempt a Q or E back through this cannon. But let's say if he were here and he tried to E through this cannon, he would get it because of the way the dash works, but he would end up very short on the end of the cannon. So he would end up around here instead of further away from it, as if he were standing here. So that is why you'll see him playing that close up to his minions. It doesn't work that way in every matchup for Yasuo, but in this matchup and any matchup where you can create a lot of pressure onto the enemy mid laner, it's a very good way to play it. And he's very slick with his movements, and he's trying to mind game this entire time. If you hear any meowing behind me, it's our new cat. She likes to whine a lot. But yeah, so Emax is standard now on Yasuo, and he pushes yet again and denies Pawn some more CS. So he's getting a bit of an advantage here, and now they know. So they know that Echo's initial start was bot side. He got pushed out of his jungle, and then he had to move up to the top side of his jungle, meaning that his best gank path would come through either here or around the ramp. And this ward, I would say move it up a little further, but it would cover this entire area that's like his danger zone for the most part. And then he can play as aggressive as he wants. Because he has vision on the side where he knows Echo will be, it would be very unlikely for Echo to be on the bot side, and it wouldn't make much sense at all, because he would be completely leaving his blue buff out. So you see there he aggressively trades because of the way melee versus ranged matchups work. Melees will just about 100% of the time have better base stats, so he's okay with giving these trades away, especially when they're so far removed from minions, because he won't be taking the minion aggro from Pawn's minions when he moves up to just auto attack trade with him. Even if he doesn't land his Qs and he just auto attack trades to the face, he wins out on that trade, especially because he has that ward. He knows that the only way Echo could come is through here, and he can account for that by the fact that he was playing towards this bottom side of the lane when he was trading with Pawn. So you'll see he keeps playing super close to the minions, backs off a little bit when he realizes, okay, I'm on this side of the lane, Echo could be coming, but he does have his Gragas behind him to potentially counter gank. But now Gragas is going into red, meaning that the counter gank isn't really there, so he should start moving to this side of the lane as soon as he can. Yep, and there it is. So he wind walls to make sure that pawn can't clear or hold the wave there, basically. So he gets the full push, and it wouldn't really be efficient for Echo to gank here because he had such an overbearing minion lead, and not only that, but pawn's DI and basically body language showed that he's not really attempting to make a play onto Rookie, meaning that Echo is probably nowhere to be seen. It would be pretty dumb for Echo to try to make a move here because they basically know that Gragas is going to be towards the top side of the map, and if Echo gets counter ganked with a TF against Gragas Yasuo, then it's not going to fare very well for them. So now he plays a little back because he noticed his ward expired. That's very good intuition, which a lot of solo queue players will keep playing aggressive as if that ward is still up and end up taking the death for it. So here he's just letting the wave push back to him. He knows that if he tries to trade, it's very dangerous because Echo could gank, and he has a very significant minion disadvantage here, especially when it comes to the casters, which will deal a lot of damage to him if he attempts to trade. So he lets it push back, and now he moves up a little bit because he does have that matchup pressure. Sorry. He does have the matchup pressure and the counter. And so here he'll try to proc the tornado and then stop the base, but it's not fast enough, so he's just going to push out. And then back, he'll have a timing attack back, which, well, it's not as much of a timing attack back as it is just a counter base because he saw pawn base, but he gets a pretty good buy here. And you'll see a lot of people here will get Avarice, but watch what he does. So otherwise they'd go Zeal and maybe Boots, but he'll go full, like, 2 green wards and a pink, I believe. And he'll change to the red trinket. So what this does, he has the counter matchup, and he has been pressuring pretty well. And basically he doesn't want TF to be able to walk down to this side and port. At the same time, he wants vision against Echo. So you'll see the way he wards tilts towards the bottom side of the map because it's the top laner's job to ward for themselves and play safe, but also at the same time, it's much more of a threat if Echo makes a play from mid to bot side when it comes to Dragon and overall pressure in this scenario. So clear these. And this whole time he's pinging Mia, etc. He thinks of warding there, so you'll see he mind games really hard. He walks towards here. I don't think he actually wards, does he? Oh, okay, I guess he does. So the 4 ADP is messing with me, but one thing you can do, even if you're not going to get that ward through, is just walk out into that direction, and it looks like you placed one of your wards there. It probably wouldn't work against Pawn because he would have checked to see how many wards he brought with the inventory. But if you're doing just something in standard solo queue, they won't really check. At the same time, it's something you should be proactively doing, is checking the enemy inventory as soon as you get vision back of them, because that's when you know, okay, did they place a ward? Did they not place a ward? Where did they put it? So now he has full vision of both sides of the jungle, or both sides of his lane, river, basically, so he can play as aggressive as he wants. Gragas is set up to counter gank if Echo tries to make anything happen, which he shouldn't. Echo should just basically shadow Gragas and make sure that TF doesn't get railed here. And he has vision in case TF tries to walk straight down through to ultimate, or bot lane tries to go for a dive, etc. with help. So he knows, now that Echo took that without a Wraith buff and without a red trinket, that there's a pink ward in that banana bush. So he moves up a little bit to check the Fog of War on this side, knowing that he can E through for safety in case anyone shows. Alright, so he wind walls to deny these two CS, which is very good. I think he might have ended up denying 3 actually in the long run. Because Pawn is playing so safe, knowing how tough this matchup is, and playing so back, the best thing for Rookie to do, instead of moving up and trading to face with the wind wall, is to deny CS with it. And now he holds them a little bit, attempting to freeze. It's not something that you can do in mid like you can do in the side lanes, but you can attempt it, and if you do pull aggro for long enough, then you might be able to force the push towards you. Oh, okay. So what he should have done there is just wind wall straight up, especially because he saw Echo was here and Gragas just went around the other way towards Wraiths. But I'm guessing his trading stance ended up being so aggressive because he knew that Pawn had no mana, and that's kind of more of a preference thing between do you deny those or do you use the wind wall to trade to face. And that's something where when you hear people talk about like, okay, Froggen's really passive, but he obviously harasses people for CS. A player that's more passive around mid would probably wind wall those creeps, whereas a player like Rookie, who's this comfortable on his Yasuo and really wants to go aggressive and push the limits, is going to go for the trade there when his opponent's And Pawn just went to take blue, so he does know the Echo's here. And that's why you see this 4v2 forming towards bot. And this is a great call to make by him and his jungler to get down there. I really like the usage of the pink ward to deny vision as well. He could have waited a little bit on this ultimate. And it's rough because they're trying to kill an Alistar, but the good thing is that Corki does have a bit of flat true damage to help out with it. And he ends up getting the kill for it with Rocket. And this was a really good trade for them. Obviously, you see how he played it out and just moved up. There isn't really much to say on his mechanics or DI there because it's pretty basic when it comes to that team fight. He backs out even though he knows there aren't really any wards there. He doesn't stop to Q animation because he knows it would hold him up long enough for Echo to be able to land his stun potentially and then follow up. So that's really a really smart move by him. Now he'll finish his static. And he goes straight down without having to wait for the extra HP because he knows that this wave is pushing really hard into the tower and he wants to miss as little CS as possible. And because he has static, he can push back out and base whenever he wants, which I believe he does. This is around the time where he has a perfect timing attack back, and you'll see it. Clears the full wave, and now you'll see that he clears this next wave and bases. Because he has so much fog of war around him, he doesn't want to make any risky plays by staying around or attacking tower. He'll clear this, and then he'll base and get a buy that is boots, tier 1 boots, plus a green ward, and he won't miss a single minion of CS or EXP when he comes back to lane. So this is huge. When I talk timing attack backs in other videos, there are other coaches that preach as well. This is what we're talking about, is the ability to get a base off, a recall, a quick, very efficient buy that will help you in the short term and then potentially the long term, and you don't miss anything out for it, or very minimal, like 1 or 2 minions max, if you time it correctly. So he'll get these minions and move forward with the ward. He did see TF move towards bot a little bit. And then he puts this here. So this does a couple things. First of all, when he first initiates his timing attack back, TF doesn't know where he is. So he backs off into Fog of War, hits the base, and the enemy team is now left guessing as to where he went, or if he went anywhere. Second of all, it forces TF to, if he wants vision, potentially have to move up and ward the ramp, which could be dangerous for him, which obviously a player at this high level will not do and take that risk. And third of all, he sees Echo now, which even if this ward gets cleared, it's very important that Echo was spotted out. It's very important towards the top lane matchup. I don't know if this is Gnar versus Hecarim. I can't see that icon. It's very pixely, but I believe it is. Yes, it is, because we saw Hecarim in the bot gank. So that allows the counter match up top between Gnar and Hecarim to go as crazy as Gnar wants it to. He can go full ham and harass the pony as much as he wants, because he knows that the jungler is on the bot side. And at the same time, now Gragas knows he can counter jungle the top side. So all their moves are totally risk-free, and they win out in gold, in top, and in jungle. So that one ward, if you think, oh, I should just save it for whatever item next, in the long run and even in the short run, in this scenario, your team can end up profiting out of gold and overall map pressure and vision by you just buying that very efficient green ward, or as you saw his early pink and 2 green buy. Because League of Legends, even though it's important for you to have your itemization, especially with your core, etc., before you get to fighting, when it comes to lane phase, even into mid game, into late game, into team fighting, the game is more about your pressure. It's about how you get your gold lead, how obviously strong the gold lead is, and the way you do it is by warding. It's not by saving your money and not buying the necessary wards, as you see here. And that's obviously a remark made for the lower elo spectators of this video. And you'll see here, this is something that a lot of, or just about any good pro team does. So what happens here is Kitties, their support, has these from the gank on control C. So he has them copy pasted. And how you do that is you type down the time and you type down the role, and then you control A while you're still in the chat box, control C to copy it, press enter, and then every time you want to re-enter it, you press enter, control V, enter. So you can outright copy paste within the game. It's just obviously not a traditional way of like highlighting it or whatever it may be. It's a more like you have to hotkey it. But it's incredibly efficient, and he keeps spamming it after pings are made so that it doesn't get drowned out. So they know the summoners every single time. And you can add to it by, so let's say you see another summoner within this time frame, and if it's not noted, it's a flash. Like if they just say the role, that means it's a flash. You can control V and then hit the right arrow key to unselect it. Oh shit, I did something wrong. You hit the right arrow key to deselect, and then you control A again to select the full text after typing in an extra summoner, and control C again. And now you have the summoner that you had from before that you timed, or the summoners in this scenario, 1430 AD, 1400 support, and let's say the jungler on top of that. So you can add to your copy paste as much as you want and keep spamming it, because knowing summoners is huge. And that's actually one of the biggest, like playing around summoners and using your summoners well is the biggest difference between, or one of the biggest differences between Master and Challenger. And obviously, if it can make you gains in that specific and that high ranking of an MMR, it will help out a lot in lower elo as well. So he'll aggressively trade here because he has his wind wall and can ensure that he doesn't get stunned. And this is really good. Pawn actually fucks up really big by allowing him to trade like that. And now he has to full base on a cannon wave, or risk getting dove by Gragas. But I don't know what Gragas is doing. I think he's waiting out for Echo to make the first move, where in this scenario he should be proactively... Oh, he's taking Scuttle Crab, I guess, when he shouldn't be. He should have went straight into Echo's rates because TF can't answer, and then he could have went over the wall, popped up TF, and got the kill. Even if they had a ward there, if he did it quickly enough, they could have potentially still got the gank off. And so he goes down. He has a static for the movement speed. He has his tier 1 boots, and they get the... So let's say they don't get anything out of it. Like Deft and I think it's PYL. Not 100% sure. But Deft and his support have to back off, obviously, because they got out-traded pretty hard, and they're down a lot of cooldowns. So they go straight to Dragon. Even if they didn't, Rookie doesn't really lose anything. Maybe one minion for walking back up. So he creates this pressure regardless and goes off of the map into the Fog of War. But you have to realize that he times it around the minion waves. So he's not missing out on much, even if this gank ends up being unsuccessful. But because it was successful in blowing cooldowns, they call Dragon instantly. And that's how important it is to get that Dragon call instantly. Because if they don't, then their time and their window around it is now shortened by a lot. And they potentially lose out on the opportunity to Dragon, which is what a lot of Western teams struggle with, is the timing of it correctly. And he should go, I think he goes Zeal here into his Triforce. Yep, and then he buys another pink because his old one got cleared. Never be afraid to buy more pinks. It's a very good way to get vision and hold it there for a while if you want to place it defensively or in like the mid-range of the line of skirmish, or even if you just want to place it down for a brief bit to deny vision. It's very efficient no matter what. Well, I say no matter what, but I mean no matter what, as long as you place it in somewhere it makes sense. So you can proc his Tornado here, or at least the first thing of it, and then he zones pawn off of the wave. And here you see when pawn wildcards, he wants to hit just one minion, because that one minion, he wants to last hit it, but he doesn't want to affect any other minions, because if he hits a minion that he's not going to be last hitting, it's going to just push the lane unnecessarily and screw him over. So this is a really good aggressive trade. And you'll notice he doesn't go even, and this is one of the more aggressive mid laners, and on Yasuo. He's happy with this trade. He doesn't need to go for the too risky under tower, where is Echo, we don't know where he is, full on ultimate under the tower to try to get the kill. Just pushing him out of lane, and now you call Gragas and you take the tower. That's it. That's all you need to do. And that opens up so much of the map for them. Now they can get wards around Wraiths, they can get wards around Wolves, wherever they see fit. It's full clear, base again. I believe he gets Merc Treads, which is very good versus that team. And he already has enough offensive power that he can go for a bit of a defensive buy. At the same time, though, with a melee assassin like Yasuo, move speed is also an offensive buy. And you see Pawn is down 20 CS in a counter matchup, and he's still buying wards for his team. Granted, not many solo queue Twisted Fates could probably play the Yasuo versus TF matchup very well. So he sees that the Ulco is off for TF. He knows that he probably won't be able to do anything about it, and so he insta-pushes, takes the ward that he just saw placed, and then will push another wave. This is all he can do, and this is the best move for him, because even though he can't go up, like he won't, if he tries to go up to counter this somehow, he won't be able to. And a lot of people don't get that. Because he won't be able to counter that aggression, the best thing to do is to starve out as much economy as you can by pushing that minion wave. And then now he moves to bot to attempt to pressure and take the tower. And so they see the Yasuo's in the Fog of War now, so Vayne backs off and they get a tower for it. He makes a play without having to be in that lane by pushing out the wave and going into a part of Fog of War where he knows is not warded, which would be this Wraith bush. There's no reason for that to be warded because their tower was just recently taken and he saw Echo and TF up top. So they haven't expected him to make a move like looping all the way around that yet. This was a very early cleanse. Yeah, I don't really know why he ulted. I think it was because Kakao was close enough to make a play with flash if he needed to. Um, but yeah, he cleanses way too early. He wasn't stunned, I don't believe. But do keep in mind that there is a bug where TF's gold card will go through Yasuo's wind wall at times, depending on if you do it a little late. And here they'll hold out, and the jungler will give the kill to a solo laner. Goes through, procs a bit of it. A bit of the upcoming tornado. Can go through here. This is very smooth, but very unfortunate because of the Zhonya's and Clear Love showing up just in time. If him and Kakao had been on the same page and Kakao walked straight up instead of taking the Scuttle Crab, then it might have been a different story, but they weren't really. One thing I noticed, Rookie does look at bot lane occasionally with his F keys, but he doesn't as much top lane and other parts of the map when it comes to how the waves are forming. But he does have overall pretty good game sense, I would say, other than the play that he just made. And this is basically the standard Yasuo build now. It's static into Triforce, a defensive boot option, and then Infinity Edge. This might be where the game starts going to shit. I do believe that IG loses this game. Spoiler alert, sorry. But, yeah, the bot lane's playing very sloppy. The sloppy play that was just made by Rookie will not help them by any means. They should be just giving up Dragon out right here. Especially because Zitai has no Narbar. Yeah, so he could have just pushed out that wave, but instead he missed out on 3 CS and a cannon, so 4 total. Obviously, but counts more, so it's 5. You'll notice his movements are very slick, and he moves around his mouse a lot to get to his next target as soon as it happens. That's the way you overwrite basically Riot's coding for the way movement's supposed to happen. As soon as he clicks on the first one to E it, he's already on the next one. He does not wait for the dash to go through. He doesn't look at Yasuo's animation and say, ooh, pretty. It's right as you proc and right as you know that you're in range for that next spell cast, you want to place your mouse cursor on the next target for the next cooldown in line. And that's just rough because they didn't know where Mako was. And that's just EDG's rotational play, basically stomping them in that sense. Clear should die to the Ignite, or, yeah, I guess Gragas Barrel. Huh. Alright. So they end up winning on it, but it was incredibly sloppy. This is part of the reason you hear people say, oh, Chinese teams can be pretty sloppy in their early to mid-game team fighting. That's it. Like, usually you'll see Korean teams won't take as big of a risk as what Rookie and Kakao just did around that pick. If they had vision, then maybe, but they did not. So he pushes the wave back out, goes back into Fog of War, looks to see, okay, are there any camps I can take? No, not yet, because of the way Kakao's pathing. Okay, so by queuing that, he checks to see if the wraiths are up, and he pulls them. He cheats the system a little bit with that extra 3 CS. Just another example of the really good DI. And he's going for red to finish off his Triforce, and just in general because he's probably the best one to put it on at the moment, considering he's going to be looking to split push soon. Or, yeah, I guess he takes the little ones and then saves the red 4 Corki in the long run because Braum can hold it there, instead of having to potentially guess and hope and pray that the enemy team won't steal the red if they leave it up. So here he should finish Triforce, get maybe a potion or 2 in wards. Or a ward, yeah. And that's another pink. That's his 3rd pink bought this game. So if the best players in the world can afford to put their money into wards and still be just fine when it comes to laning and team fighting, I'm sure you can too, considering they're also playing versus some of the best players in the world. This is a pretty good rotational move after seeing TF move away a little bit, but they have to be kind of careful because Znar's Mega just went off, so he won't have it again for a little bit potentially. That's a good place to put his pink as well, because they already had vision denial on the other side because Gragas had swept it, like around this area. I don't like that he doesn't pan over to Gragas there. What you should do there is definitely pan over to the Gragas to see where Echo's DI went into, whether it was like into here or into here, and what his body language was in terms of what cooldowns was he using. Did he put a zoning, like the little circle here, or in the intersection, or in a way that his team would kite with it, or did he put it in a way where his team would try to engage with it? And that also kind of tells you what the numbers look like that they have. He sees the TF wildcards, which means that he's still doing wraiths. So he full pushes because he knows that his team is pressuring. But if your team is not pressuring, you don't want to move up into fog of war that hard. If they force Mako to use his ult here, it's pretty huge. And you see he doesn't ult yet, because, and this is something that Dade did really well whenever he used to play against the hyper carry ADC, or an ADC that he knew could just deal a ton of DPS in a team fight regardless. He doesn't ult here because if Rookie ults, Deft is like full clear and has no ults left to worry about really from anyone else on the enemy team. And he doesn't have to worry about Rookie's DPS and can just get flat DPS down onto Rookie and potentially kill him and then move on to the tanks. So it's really smart by Rookie here to save his ultimate. Rookie is the Yasuo, I'm sorry. I preach saying champion names over summoner names in scrims, so my players will probably give me shit for that. But okay. So he tried to play to the best of his ability, but EDG's team fighting is pretty good. But at the same time, he took enough pressure away that they might still end up winning this team fight. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't finish this full game. Okay, yeah. So even if he ends up taking the loss for it by his personal loss by dying, it's not even a full loss even for him personally or his team. He does create enough pressure by holding that ult and by just waiting there for his team to end up winning the team fight. Had he ulted right away onto one of the tanks or just a single target regardless, other than Vayne, obviously, they would have 100% lost the fight. I honestly like the crit cloak a little more than the pickaxe after your static and Triforce because it gives you 30%, and 30% is pretty huge, and it gets you to, I believe, 90 from, 90 before you even finish the Infinity Edge. And just the fact that now you consistently crit just about every auto as a little more DPS in the long run than a pickaxe. But it might also be for damage to towers, who knows? Because he might want to start splitting now, considering I believe he could 1v1 Hecarim. But it's tough. The reason that he hasn't really started a splitting sequence where they 1-3-1 with the Gnar and the Yasuo is because TF disallows you to split a lot. Even though Yasuo is a good counter pick to TF within the lane, the way EDG would play around that is too detrimental for them to actually try to get it off. Because TF turns any 1v1 into a 2v1 instantly. You'll see also last fight he didn't fully go in like some would like to do because he's not a dedicated tank. He's not meant to go fully in before he sees a lot of cooldowns used or he gets a good ult engage into the enemy team. He has to play like he is squishy because he is. And this is really smooth by IG. He does get the upgrade to the War Trinket because if he does end up splitting, that's definitely what you want, and he can help out with the warding and just pick up a pink. Like if you get the Yellow Trinket upgrade, always carry a pink or two with you to deny vision when you need to. I think they're giving the blue to Corki. He's just holding his gold for his BF sword. Plays a little more up because of TF's body language. And now they start their siege finally because they have the Nashor minions. They couldn't really siege versus the TF without these minions. And then they rotate up to top as a unit, get wards down on the way to make sure there's no counter rotation, and then they utilize these minions once again. So maybe they do win this game in the series. I'm not sure. But they did end up playing it really well after the sloppy couple plays in the mid game. Echo uses his purple smite to clear. He's trying to get in to maybe put a Triforce proc on the tower, but it's really tough. So his positioning is more so around pressuring a counter attack if they try to dive than anything, which is pretty good. And that's fine. They put a pink out here, which is really smart to deny any wards that they try to counter siege with. Cal tanks a little bit, but they get flanked on, and this is a really good team fight by EDG. EDG should win this one. He still hasn't ulted, keep that in mind. He's saving it. So he goes in this hard because he knows he can E back out onto, I think it was Alistar, if he needs to, but then he decides to just full go. Which this trade, 3 for 1, but you do get an inhib tower, and there's no objective up that you'll end up giving up for it, so it's not a huge deal whatsoever. They actually end up winning out on it. He should sell the Storms for wards. The reason he was about to sell the Dorns was in case he could get the IE off it, but it's very selfish to keep it. He should sell it and get probably 2 pink wards even off of it, because then he can help deny a lot of the vision around Dragon that's about to come up in under a minute. In a full setup 5v5 team fight, though, I think IG still wins. The reason they lost last team fight was because there was a really good flank, and EDG got to play with the base to their back. So they had nothing to lose really by going for it. Or I should say the back to their base, I guess would be correct terminology, yeah. Top wave is set up by EDG, I believe, to push for now, but in the long run it'll push back with a super wave from IG. But that doesn't really matter in this scenario because they're just rushing for the drag. They back off as a unit. He procs his tornado. Doesn't want to go in again until he sees a backliner that he can get it off on. And then you see Hecarim goes in right when Gnar goes in to CC the Yasuo and disallow him from getting a full man ult off. And then he finally ults for the armor pen / shield. Okay, very nice. So this is basically game for them. And I hope, just watching his team fighting is mesmerizing to a point. He team fights a lot like Godvi, where he will kite a lot as Yasuo, which is the correct thing to do when you don't see cooldowns. And even if you can't get DPS for a certain point of the fight, and if you can just wait for your window and get a good attack, it makes up for all of it. There's so many people that will rush their attack as Yasuo or another AD assassin when they need to wait for the correct time frame to do so. They need to wait for that window to be able to fully efficiently, without risking too much, be able to deal their DPS in a fight. Especially when you have 2 tanks that are that beefy, you don't really need to worry about messing up your DPS in a way that will ruin the team fight for you. Still no ult. Watch how he plays. He's sitting back. He uses the wind wall to make sure that the carries can't get any of their damage off while they single out the tanks and get the damage down on them. And then he gets the tornado he's been waiting for every single fight. And Dada used to do this versus Twitch and Jinx all the time if it was played in Korea. And you can even do it versus Vayne, even if she has tumble. Well, not even considering her mobility is higher than an immobile AD carry, if you time it correctly. So he caught him just off guard enough to get that ult off. And that's what he was looking for in every single fight, while at the same time singling out the tanks with his team. So that does it. This is the first in the series of probably a good amount of episodes. I would like any potential champs that you guys want to see, any specific players, Imp, Deft, Clear Love, Godv, whoever, like anyone, PYL, TCT, from the LPL, we can do this. If you just give me the requests, and I have enough requests for one thing, I'll definitely do it. Or even if I don't have many requests at first, then I get just one that I think would be informational. I like it. I've gone over the VOD. I'll definitely be willing to help the community in that way. So consider this a part 1. Thank you very much for watching. I'm still trying to work on my recording voice a little bit, and I don't actually have a mic. I'm working from a gaming laptop right now, so yeah, be sure to follow me on my social media to keep updated. Subscribe to my channel if you want. This isn't it. This is just the POV channel. So this is one of them. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. And then there's one called Twitch Reuploads as well, if you guys want to see it. And they also have a ton of videos of POV. So if you guys check on these and you like something, you want to learn, okay, what am I doing wrong that the pros are doing differently? What are they doing proactively that I'm not necessarily doing myself? Let me know, and I'd love to review it for you. I also do offer lessons, so contact me to set that up as well. On my Reddit account, where I'll be posting this on YouTube messages, whatever it may be. I don't really want to give my Skype out just yet. I might make one specifically for coaching, but we'll see. So yeah, thank you very much, and I hope you guys stick around for a while. Bye.